The galaxy was vast, endless, and full of wonders. Stars burned like tiny fires scattered across the blackness of space. Planets orbited their suns, and life thrived in countless forms. Humanity had come a long way since its first steps into the cosmos. They built ships that could travel faster than light, colonized distant worlds, and created societies among the stars. But there was one thing everyone knew about the universe. It ended at a line called the Rim. Beyond it lay the unknown, a place marked only by silence and fear. No one crossed the Rim, not the explorers who dreamed of discovering new worlds, not the traders looking for untapped markets, and certainly not the scientists searching for answers to humanity's deepest questions. It wasn't written down in any law or enforced by soldiers. It was simply understood. Everyone knew better than to ask why. The map stopped there, and so did human ambition. Liam Carter hated that. He sat in his small quarters aboard the research vessel Aurora Dawn, staring at the glowing screen of his tablet. On it was displayed a map of human space, a network of star systems connected by trade routes, colonies, and outposts. At the edge of the map, where the line stopped abruptly, were the words, "Beyond this point lies uncharted territory. Proceed at your own risk." Liam sighed and leaned back in his chair. He had heard all the stories growing up, the tales of ships vanishing without a trace, of strange signals coming from beyond the Rim, of whispers among old spacers saying things no one wanted to hear, but none of it made sense to him. Why would humanity stop exploring? Why would they let fear keep them trapped when there was so much more to discover? His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. "Come in," he said, turning off the tablet. Emma Ross stepped inside holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. She handed one to Liam with a smile. "You look like you're brooding again." "I'm not brooding," Liam replied, taking the cup. "I'm thinking." "About the Rim?" Emma asked, sitting down on the edge of his bed. Her tone was teasing, but her eyes showed concern. She knew how obsessed Liam was with the idea of crossing the boundary. "Yes," Liam admitted. "It doesn't make sense, Emma. We've mapped galaxies, landed on moons, and built cities in space. But we draw a line and say that's it, no further. What kind of species does that?" "A smart one," Emma said firmly. "There's a reason no one goes past the Rim, Liam. People have tried before and none of them came back. Whatever's out there, it's dangerous." "But what if it's not?" Liam countered. "What if it's something amazing? Something that could change everything we know? Don't you ever wonder?" Emma hesitated. Of course, she wondered. How could anyone not? But she also believed in caution. Humanity had survived this long because it learned when to push forward and when to hold back. Crossing the Rim felt like tempting fate. Still, she couldn't deny that part of her admired Liam's determination. She just wished he wouldn't take it so far. "You need to focus on your work," she said finally. "We're here to study anomalies in the asteroid belt, remember? Not plan expeditions into the void." Liam smirked. "You say that like I can't do both." Emma rolled her eyes but didn't argue. Instead, she changed the subject. "Did you finish analyzing the data from yesterday's scans?" "Almost," Liam said, sipping his coffee. "There's some weird interference near Sector 7, though. I think it might be worth checking out." "Interference?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "I don't know yet. That's why I'm still working on it." He grinned. "But you'll be the first to know once I figure it out." Emma shook her head, smiling despite herself. For all his recklessness, Liam was brilliant. His mind worked in ways most people couldn't understand, jumping between ideas and theories like lightning striking different points on a map. Sometimes it frustrated her, but other times it inspired her. As she stood to leave, she paused at the door. "Just be careful, okay? I mean it. Some mysteries are better left unsolved." Liam nodded, though he didn't fully agree. Once Emma was gone, he turned his tablet back on and returned to studying the map. His fingers traced the edge where human space ended. Somewhere beyond that line was something waiting to be discovered. And Liam was determined to find it. Days passed, and Liam threw himself into his work. He analyzed scan after scan, searching for anything unusual. Most of the time it was nothing, just rocks floating aimlessly through space. But then, during a routine sweep of Sector 7, he found something that made his heart race. It wasn't a ship or a planet. It was smaller, almost invisible unless you knew exactly what to look for. Buried beneath layers of cosmic dust was an object shaped like a disk, roughly the size of a dinner plate. Its surface shimmered faintly, reflecting light even though it should have been too far from any star to do so naturally. Intrigued, Liam adjusted the sensors to get a closer look. The readings were strange, low energy signatures, inconsistent, material composition, and patterns that didn't match anything in the database. Whatever it wasn't natural. He flagged the discovery and sent a message to Emma. Within minutes, she arrived in the lab, her expression curious but wary. "What is it?" she asked, peering over his shoulder at the monitor. I know," Liam admitted, "but it's definitely artificial. Look at these markings." He zoomed in on the object's surface, revealing intricate symbols etched into its metallic exterior. They weren't like any language Liam had seen before, but they seemed deliberate, as if designed to convey meaning. "Could it be debris from an old ship?" Emma suggested. "Maybe," Liam said thoughtfully. "But if it is, it's unlike anything we've encountered before. And look at this." He pointed to another set of readings. "It's emitting a faint signal." "A signal?" Emma frowned. "What kind of signal?" "That's the weird part," Liam replied. "It's not on any known frequency. It's almost like it's trying to communicate." Emma stared at the screen, her earlier skepticism giving way to unease. "Do you think it's alive?" "No," Liam said quickly. "Not alive, but it's definitely intelligent, or made by something intelligent." They decided to retrieve the object using the ship's drone. After several tense minutes, the drone returned with the artifact safely secured in its cargo bay. Back in the lab, Liam and Emma examined it more closely. The disk was heavier than it looked, and its surface felt cool to the touch. When Liam ran additional tests, he discovered something astonishing embedded within its core, a fragment of a star chart. The map showed coordinates leading directly toward the rim. "This changes everything," Liam whispered, his voice trembling with excitement. "This isn't just junk. It's a clue." Emma studied the map, her brow furrowed. "Coordinates? To where?" "To whatever's out there," Liam said, his eyes gleaming. "Whatever they didn't want us to find." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "Liam, this could be dangerous. If someone put this here and went to such lengths to hide it, they must have had a good reason." "I know," Liam said softly. "But don't you see? This is our chance to find out what's really beyond the rim, to prove that we're not alone, that there's more to the universe than what we've been told." Emma wanted to argue, to remind him of all the risks involved. But deep down, she understood his passion. She'd always admired his ability to dream big, even when others told him to play it safe. And now, looking at the mysterious disk, she couldn't help but feel a spark of curiosity herself. "Okay," she said finally. "But if we're going to do this, we need a plan, and we can't do it alone." Liam smiled, relief washing over him. "Thank you, Emma. You won't regret this." She hoped he was right. But as they began making preparations, a nagging voice in the back of her mind whispered that crossing the rim might lead to consequences neither of them could imagine. Liam Carter knew he couldn't cross the rim alone. Even with Emma's support, the journey would require more than just two people. It needed a team, people who were smart, brave, and willing to take risks. But finding such individuals wasn't going to be easy. Most people in human space had grown comfortable within the confines of the rim. They didn't question why it existed or what lay beyond it. To them, it was simply a fact of life, like gravity or the rising sun. But Liam wasn't most people. He believed that humanity's greatest achievements came from defying limits, not accepting them. And now, armed with the mysterious artifact and its cryptic star chart, he was determined to push past those boundaries, even if it meant going against centuries of tradition. The first person Liam approached was Ryan Holt, the ship's pilot. Ryan was known for his skill behind the controls and his reckless streak. He'd been reprimanded more than once for pushing the Aurora Dawn to its limits during test flights, but no one could deny his talent. When Liam found him in the mess hall, Ryan was leaning back in his chair, feet propped up on the table, flipping through a magazine about vintage spacecraft. "Hey, Ryan," Liam said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Got a minute?" Ryan glanced up, lowering the magazine slightly. "Depends, is this about work because I'm off duty?" "It's not exactly work," Liam replied, keeping his tone casual. "More like an opportunity." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "An opportunity? For what?" Liam hesitated, glancing around to make sure no one else was listening. Then he leaned closer and lowered his voice. "I've found something, a map leading beyond the rim. I think it might lead to answers about why we're stuck here. But I can't do it alone. I need someone who knows how to handle a ship better than anyone else." Ryan stared at him for a moment, then burst out laughing. "You're serious? Crossing the rim? Do you have any idea how crazy that sounds?" "I know it's risky," Liam admitted. "But isn't that what makes it exciting? Think about it, Ryan. You could be the first pilot to navigate uncharted space. Your name would go down in history." Ryan's smile faded as he considered the offer. He'd always dreamed of doing something extraordinary, something that would set him apart from everyone else. Flying routine missions around human space had started to feel dull, predictable. Maybe this was his chance to break free from monotony, to prove himself in a way no one else ever had. "All right," Ryan said finally, sitting up straight. "I'm in. But if we die, I'm blaming you." Liam grinned. "Deal." Next, Liam turned his attention to Olivia Gray, the ship's biologist. Olivia was quiet and reserved, often preferring the company of plants and microorganisms to people. But she was brilliant, with a keen eye for detail and an insatiable curiosity about alien ecosystems. If there was life beyond the rim, and Liam suspected there might be, Olivia would be the perfect person to study it. He found her in the greenhouse module, tending to a cluster of glowing fungi she'd cultivated from samples collected during their last mission. She looked up when he entered, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. "Liam," she said, surprised. "What brings you here?" "I need your help," Liam began, getting straight to the point. "I've discovered something, an artifact, with a map pointing beyond the rim. I want to go there, see what's waiting for us, and if there's life out there, I'll need someone who can analyze it properly." Olivia frowned, setting down her tools. "Beyond the rim? That's dangerous. No one goes there for a reason." "That's exactly why we should," Liam countered. "Imagine what we could learn. New species, new ecosystems, things we've never seen before. This could be the discovery of a lifetime." Olivia hesitated. She'd spent years studying biology, driven by a desire to understand the diversity of life in the universe. The idea of encountering something completely unknown thrilled her, but it also terrified her. What if whatever was out there wasn't friendly? What if it was hostile? "I'll think about it," she said finally. "But I can't promise anything." Liam nodded, understanding her reluctance. "Just don't take too long to decide. We leave soon." The final member of the team was Marcus King, the ship's engineer. Unlike the others, Marcus wasn't motivated by dreams of exploration or scientific discovery. He was pragmatic, focused, solely on solving problems and keeping things running smoothly, but he had a reputation for being fearless, willing to tackle challenges that would make others balk. Liam found Marcus in the engine room, tinkering with a malfunctioning power relay. The air smelled faintly of burnt wiring, and sparks occasionally shot out from the exposed panel. "Marcus," Liam called over the hum of machinery. "Got a second?" Marcus grunted without looking up. "Make it quick. This thing's giving me trouble." "I need you to come with me," Liam said. "We're planning a trip beyond the rim. That got Marcus's attention. He stopped working and turned to face Liam, his expression unreadable. Are you insane? Do you even realize how many things could go wrong out there? Of course I do, Liam replied. Which is why I need someone like you. Someone who can fix anything, no matter how bad it gets. If we run into trouble, and we probably will, I'll need you to keep us alive. Marcus studied him for a moment, then let out a low chuckle. You really are crazy, you know that? But fine. Count me in. Just don't expect me to hold your hand if things get ugly. Liam smiled, relieved. With Ryan, Olivia, and Marcus on board, he felt confident they had the skills needed to succeed. Now all he had to do was convince Emma to finalize the plans. When Liam gathered the group together later that evening, he laid out everything he knew. The artifact, the star chart, and the coordinates leading toward the rim. He explained his theory, that whatever lay beyond the boundary held secrets about humanity's place in the galaxy. Secrets worth uncovering no matter the cost. Ryan listened intently, his eyes lighting up at the prospect of flying into uncharted territory. Olivia seemed torn between excitement and apprehension, while Marcus remained skeptical but intrigued. Emma, however, looked uneasy. This is insane, she said, breaking the silence. Even if we manage to cross the rim, what happens when we get there? What if we find something we can't handle? We'll deal with it when the time comes, Liam replied firmly. But staying here means never knowing. Don't you want to find out what's waiting for us? Emma sighed, rubbing her temples. She wanted to argue, to remind him of all the dangers involved, but deep down, she understood why he was doing this. Humanity had always been driven by curiosity, by the need to explore and learn. Maybe crossing the rim was the next step in that journey. All right, she said finally. But we do this my way, carefully. No unnecessary risks. The others nodded in agreement, and with that, the decision was made. Over the next few days, they prepared the Aurora Dawn for its unprecedented voyage. Supplies were stocked, systems were checked, and contingency plans were drawn up. As word spread about their intentions, whispers of disapproval rippled through the station. Some called them heroes, others labeled them fools. But none tried to stop them. On the day of departure, the crew stood together on the observation deck, watching as the stars stretched endlessly before them. The rim loomed ahead, a dark line dividing the known from the unknown. For the first time in centuries, humans were about to cross it. Liam took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. Whatever awaited them beyond the rim, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The Aurora Dawn glided silently through the vastness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the faint light of distant stars. Inside, the crew was tense but focused. They had crossed into uncharted territory hours ago, leaving behind the safety of human space and venturing into the unknown. The rim loomed behind them now, a dark line that seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, as if warning them not to go further. Liam sat in the cockpit beside Ryan, who was gripping the controls tightly. The ship's systems were behaving strangely. Ever since they'd crossed the boundary, lights flickered on and off, instruments gave inconsistent readings, and an unsettling hum filled the air. It wasn't loud, but it was constant, a low, droning sound that made everyone uneasy. Are we still on course? Liam asked, trying to keep his voice steady. As far as I can tell, Ryan replied, his eyes fixed on the navigation panel. But these coordinates are all over the place. It's like space itself doesn't want us here. Emma, standing behind them, frowned. What does that even mean? Space isn't alive. It can't want anything. Tell that to the ship, Ryan muttered, gesturing at the blinking lights on the console. Something out here is messing with us. Olivia entered the cockpit, her face pale. She had been monitoring environmental scans from the lab, and what she'd found wasn't reassuring. There's something wrong with the data, she said quietly. It's shifting. Like reality itself is unstable. Marcus appeared next, holding a tablet in one hand. His expression was grim. I've been checking the engines. They're fine, for now. But whatever's causing this interference could fry them if it gets worse. We need to figure out what's going on before we lose control of the ship. Liam clenched his fists, frustration bubbling inside him. He hadn't expected everything to go smoothly, but this was more than he'd bargained for. Still, turning back wasn't an option, not after coming so far. We stick to the plan, he said firmly. Follow the map. If we can just reach those coordinates, maybe we'll find answers. No one argued, though their faces showed doubt. The crew returned to their stations, each doing their best to stay focused despite the growing sense of unease. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the hum of the ship and occasional bursts of static from the comm system. Finally, they arrived at the location marked on the star chart. At first, there was nothing, just empty space stretching endlessly, in every direction. Then, slowly, something began to emerge from the void. A massive structure floated before them, ancient and ominous. Its surface was covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly, defying logic and comprehension. "What is that?" Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "It looks like some kind of station," Ryan said, leaning closer to the viewport, "but it's huge. Bigger than anything I've ever seen." Liam felt a mix of awe and dread as he studied the structure. It didn't look like it belonged to any known civilization. Its design was alien, almost organic, with curved edges and glowing veins running across its surface. Parts of it appeared damaged, scorched by fire, or decayed by time. "We should check it out," Liam said finally. "If this place has been here for centuries, maybe it holds clues about why the rim exists." "You're serious?" Marcus snapped, glaring at him. "That thing could be dangerous. For all we know, it's what's causing the interference." "He's right," Olivia added nervously. "We don't even know if it's safe to approach. What if it attacks us?" "It hasn't done anything yet," Liam countered. "And we didn't come all this way to turn back because we're scared. Let's dock with it and see what we can find." After a brief argument, the others reluctantly agreed. Ryan guided. The Aurora dawned toward the station, maneuvering carefully around jagged protrusions and darkened sections. When they finally connected with a docking bay, the ship shuddered slightly, as if protesting the decision. Inside the station, the air was cold and stale, carrying the metallic tang of decay. The crew suited up in their protective gear and stepped cautiously onto the alien floor. Their footsteps echoed eerily in the vast, empty corridors. The walls were smooth and black, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols glowed, faintly beneath the surface, pulsating rhythmically like a heartbeat. "This place gives me the creeps," Ryan muttered, shining his flashlight down a narrow hallway. "Feels like it's watching us." "Stay close," Emma warned, clutching her scanner. "We don't know what's lurking in here." As they moved deeper into the station, signs of past activity became clear. Scorch marks marred the walls, evidence of battles fought long ago. Pieces of shattered equipment lay scattered across the ground, their purpose impossible to determine. In one room, they found what looked like a control panel, though none of the buttons or switches resembled anything they'd seen before. Olivia knelt beside the panel, studying it intently. "This technology is incredible. It's unlike anything I've ever encountered. Whoever built this must have been incredibly advanced." "But where did they go?" Marcus asked, his voice echoing in the silence. "And why did they leave?" Before anyone could answer, a low rumble shook the station. Dust fell from the ceiling and the glowing symbols on the walls flared brightly. The crew froze, exchanging worried glances. "What was that?" Emma asked, her voice rising in panic. "I don't know," Liam admitted, gripping his flashlight tighter. "But we should keep moving. Maybe we'll find answers deeper inside." They pressed on, following the path illuminated by the glowing symbols. Eventually, they reached a large chamber at the heart of the station. In the center stood a pedestal, atop which rested another artifact, a sphere made of the same shimmering material as the disk they'd found earlier. As they approached, the sphere began to glow, bathing the room in soft, golden light. "It's beautiful," Olivia murmured, reaching out instinctively. "Don't touch it," Emma shouted, grabbing her arm. "We don't know what it does." But it was too late. The moment Olivia's fingers brushed against the sphere, a surge of energy rippled through the chamber. Images flashed before their eyes, scenes of war, destruction, and despair. Planets burned, ships exploded, and beings screamed in agony. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the vision ended, leaving the crew shaken and gasping for breath. "What? What was that?" Ryan stammered, clutching his chest. "I think," Olivia said slowly, her voice trembling. "I think it was a message. A warning." "A warning about what?" Marcus demanded, looking around nervously. Liam stared at the sphere, his mind racing. Whatever secrets this station held, they weren't meant to be discovered lightly. Crossing the rim had been reckless, but now they were faced with something far greater and far more dangerous than any of them had anticipated. "We need to get out of here," Emma said urgently. "Now." For once, no one disagreed. They turned and hurried back the way they came, their hearts pounding with fear and urgency. The station groaned around them, as if protesting their departure. By the time they reached the Aurora Dawn, they were all sweating and out of breath. As Ryan powered up the engines and prepared to leave, Liam glanced back at the station through the viewport. It loomed menacingly in the distance, its glowing vanes dimming as if falling asleep. He couldn't shake the feeling that they had barely scratched the surface of its mysteries, and that those mysteries might follow them home. "What do we do now?" Emma asked softly, breaking the silence. Liam hesitated, then straightened his shoulders. "We report what we've found, and we prepare for whatever comes next." Because deep down, he knew one thing for certain. Crossing the rim had only been the beginning. The Aurora Dawn sped away from the ancient station, its engines roaring as Ryan pushed the ship to its limits. No one spoke as they put distance between themselves and the eerie structure. The crew sat in silence, their minds replaying the strange visions they had seen inside the station. Planets burning, ships exploding, beings screaming. It was like a nightmare burned into their memories. Liam stared out the viewport, his thoughts racing. He had been so certain that crossing the rim would lead to discovery, to answers about humanity's place in the galaxy. Instead, he felt more confused than ever. What had they stumbled upon? And what did it mean for humanity? Emma broke the silence first. "We need to talk about what we just saw." "We saw destruction," Marcus said bluntly, leaning back in his seat. "Whatever built that station got wiped out. Maybe that's why the rim exists, to keep us safe from whatever did it." "But who?" Olivia asked, her voice trembling. "And what if it's still out there?" Ryan glanced over his shoulder at her. "You think whatever destroyed them is still alive? Out here? Somewhere?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "But those images, they felt real. Like it wasn't just history, it was a warning." Liam nodded slowly. "She's right, that sphere wasn't just showing us the past. It was telling us something about the future, something bad." Emma frowned. "So what do we do? Turn around and go home? Pretend we never found this place?" "No," Liam said firmly. "We can't ignore it. If there's something dangerous out here, humanity needs to know. We have a responsibility to warn them." "But how?" Marcus asked. "You think Earth's leaders are going to believe us when we tell them we crossed the rim and found an alien station full of glowing symbols and creepy spheres?" "He's got a point," Ryan added. "Even if we show them the footage, most people will call us liars, or worse, crazy." "Then we find proof," Liam said. "Something undeniable. Evidence that proves we're not making this up." Olivia hesitated, then spoke up. "What if the station itself is proof? What if we bring part of it back with us?" Everyone turned to look at her. "You mean, take a piece of the station?" Emma asked, surprised. "Why not?" Olivia replied. "It's advanced technology. If we can study it, maybe we'll understand what happened to whoever built it, and why they left that warning." Marcus shook his head. "That's risky." For all we know, touching the wrong thing could trigger another vision or worse. It's worth the risk, Liam said, his tone decisive. If we want people to listen, we need something tangible, something they can see and touch. Hours later, the crew returned to the station, this time armed with tools and protective gear. They moved cautiously through the dark corridors, their flashlights cutting through the oppressive gloom. The air felt heavier now, as if the station knew they were back and didn't approve. They reached the chamber with the glowing sphere and stopped. Liam stepped forward, his heart pounding. Okay, let's focus on the pedestal. It looks sturdy enough to remove without damaging the sphere. Marcus knelt beside the pedestal, examining it closely. This material, it's unlike anything I've worked with before. Cutting it might take some time. Do it carefully, Emma warned. We don't want to set off another energy surge. As Marcus worked, the others kept watch, their eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. The station seemed eerily quiet, but the hum that had followed them earlier was louder now, almost like a low growl. Finally, after what felt like hours, Marcus stood up, holding a chunk of the pedestal in his hands. Got it. Let's get out of here. They hurried back to the ship, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Just as they reached the docking bay, a loud rumble shook the station. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the glowing symbols on the walls flared brightly. What's happening? Olivia shouted, panic creeping into her voice. The station's collapsing, Ryan yelled. Move! They sprinted toward the Aurora Dawn, leaping aboard just as the outer doors sealed shut behind them. Ryan wasted no time firing up the engines and blasting away from the structure. As they watched from the viewport, the station began to crumble, its glowing veins fading into darkness before it finally imploded, disappearing into the void. Well, Marcus said dryly, setting the piece of the pedestal on the floor, I guess that answers whether we should go back. Back aboard the Aurora Dawn, the crew gathered in the lab to examine their prize. The fragment of the pedestal was smooth and cool to the touch, its surface etched with the same shifting patterns they'd seen throughout the station. When Olivia ran tests on it, the results were baffling. The material defied known physics. It seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. This is incredible, she murmured, staring at the readings. Whoever made this understood things we can't even begin to comprehend. But why build something so advanced only to abandon it? Emma asked, frowning. And why leave it here beyond the rim? Maybe they didn't abandon it, Liam suggested. Maybe they were forced to leave. Forced by what? Ryan asked. No one had an answer. The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unsettling. Days passed as they continued their journey back toward human space. The artifact remained their focus, but it wasn't the only thing on their minds. Each member of the crew struggled with their own thoughts about what they had witnessed. Ryan couldn't stop thinking about the destruction they'd seen in the visions. Marcus grew increasingly paranoid, convinced something was following them. Even Emma, usually the voice of reason, seemed troubled, questioning whether they had done the right thing by leaving the station. One evening, as the ship drifted silently through the stars, Liam found himself alone in the observation deck. He gazed out at the endless expanse of space, feeling smaller than ever. Crossing, the Aurora Dawn was nearing the edge of uncharted space, its systems humming steadily as it prepared to re-enter human territory. The crew had spent days analyzing the fragment of the pedestal they'd taken from the ancient station, but their findings only deepened the mystery. The material defied every known law of physics, and the shifting patterns on its surface seemed to pulse faintly, almost as if alive. Despite their efforts, no one could fully understand what it was, or what it meant. Liam stood in the lab staring at the artifact. His mind raced with questions. What had happened to the civilization that built the station? Why had they left such a powerful warning behind? And most importantly, what did it mean for humanity now? Emma entered the room quietly, her expression troubled. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. Liam turned to face her. What is it? I've been thinking about the visions we saw in the station, Emma began, her voice low. About the destruction and the beings screaming. We all have, Liam replied. It's not something you forget easily. But what if it wasn't just a vision? Emma asked, her eyes searching his. What if it was a message, a glimpse into the future? Liam frowned. You think it's a prophecy? Maybe, Emma admitted. Or maybe it's a memory of something that hasn't happened yet, something waiting to happen again. Liam felt a chill run down his spine. He had dismissed the idea at first, chalking the visions up to some kind of alien communication. But Emma's words struck a nerve. What if the station hadn't just been warning them about the past? What if it was warning them about what lay ahead? Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and the intercom crackled to life with Ryan's voice. We've got trouble. Everyone get to the cockpit now. Liam and Emma rushed to join the others, their hearts pounding. When they arrived, Ryan was gripping the controls tightly, his knuckles white. On the viewport, a massive shadow loomed ahead of them, a shape so large it blocked out the stars. What is that? Olivia gasped, her voice trembling. It wasn't there a minute ago, Ryan said, his tone tense. It just appeared. The object was unlike anything they'd ever seen. Its form shifted constantly, as if it were made of liquid metal. Spikes jutted out from its surface, glowing faintly, with an unnatural light. At its center was a swirling vortex pulsating like a heartbeat. Marcus leaned forward, studying the readings on his tablet. Whatever it is, it's generating a massive energy field. It's interfering with our systems. Can we go around it? Liam asked urgently. Ryan shook his head. Not without risking the engines. If we try to maneuver too close, we could lose control. Then we stop it, Liam said firmly. That thing came from somewhere. Maybe it's connected to the station. You're not serious, Marcus snapped. That thing could tear us apart. He's right, Emma added, her voice rising. We can't fight something like that. We don't have a choice, Liam shouted, his frustration boiling over. If we turn back now, we'll never know what it is, or what it wants. No, one spoke for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. Finally, Ryan sighed and turned back to the controls. Fine. But if this goes sideways, I'm blaming you. The crew worked quickly, preparing the ship for whatever might come next. Marcus rigged the weapon systems, though he doubted they would do much against something so powerful. Olivia monitored environmental scans, hoping to find a weakness in the creature's defenses. Emma kept watch on the ship's vital systems, ensuring they wouldn't fail under pressure. As they approached the entity, Liam stood at the front of the cockpit, his eyes fixed on the swirling vortex. There's something inside it, he murmured, something moving. The others strained to see, but the vortex was too chaotic to make out any details. Then suddenly the ship shuddered violently as a wave of energy surged toward them. Lights flickered and the hum of machinery grew louder. It's attacking us, Marcus yelled, frantically typing commands into his tablet. Hold steady, Ryan shouted, fighting to keep the ship stable. I'm bringing us closer. The vortex pulsed again, and this time a beam of light shot out, striking the hull of the Aurora Dawn. The impact sent sparks flying and warning sirens filled the air. We're losing power, Emma cried, her hands flying across the console. Fire. Everything we've got, Liam ordered. Now. Marcus complied, launching a barrage of plasma blasts at the entity. For a moment it seemed to work. The spikes on its surface retracted slightly and the vortex dimmed. But then, with a deafening roar, the creature retaliated, unleashing a torrent of energy that engulfed the ship. The crew braced themselves as the Aurora Dawn rocked violently. Alarms blared and smoke filled the cockpit. Through the chaos, Liam caught a glimpse of the vortex expanding, pulling them closer despite Ryan's best efforts to resist. It's dragging us in. Ryan shouted, his voice strained. I can't break free. Shut down non-essential systems, Emma yelled. Redirect all power to the engines. The crew scrambled to follow her instructions, their movements frantic but coordinated. Slowly, the ship began to stabilize, but the vortex was still growing larger, threatening to consume them entirely. We're not going to make it. Olivia screamed, clutching the back of Ryan's chair. Yes, we are, Liam said through gritted teeth. Marcus, deploy the artifact. What? Marcus stared at him, incredulous. Are you insane? That thing could blow us up. It's our only chance, Liam insisted. Do it. Reluctantly, Marcus retrieved the fragment of the pedestal and placed it in a containment unit connected to the ship's external systems. With a deep breath, he activated the device, sending a surge of energy outward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the artifact began to glow, its patterns shifting faster and faster until they matched the rhythm of the vortex. The two forces connected, creating a blinding flash of light that filled the cockpit. When the light faded, the entity was gone. The stars reappeared, shining brightly against the blackness of space. The Aurora Dawn drifted silently, its systems damaged but intact. What just happened? Ryan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, Liam admitted, staring at the empty space where the creature had been. But I think the artifact stopped it. Emma sank into a nearby chair, her face pale. That thing, it wasn't just attacking us, it was trying to communicate. Communicate? Marcus repeated, incredulous. By tearing us apart? No, Emma said softly. It was testing us, seeing if we were strong enough or smart enough to survive. The crew fell silent, the weight of her words settling over them. They had faced the unknown and lived to tell the tale. But at what cost? And what other dangers awaited them beyond the rim? As the Aurora Dawn limped back toward human space, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. The artifact had saved them for now, but it also raised more questions than answers. Whatever lay beyond the rim, it was clear that humanity wasn't ready for it. But Liam knew one thing for certain. The truth was out there, waiting to be discovered, and he wouldn't rest until he found it. The Aurora Dawn drifted silently through space, its damaged systems humming faintly as it made its way back toward human territory. The crew was exhausted, their bodies and minds stretched to the breaking point. They had survived an encounter with something beyond comprehension, a living, shifting entity that seemed more like a force of nature than a being. But survival came at a cost, and none of them felt truly safe anymore. Liam sat alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He replayed the events of the past few days in his mind, the station, the artifact, the vortex, and tried to make sense of it all. What had they unleashed by crossing the rim? And what did it mean for humanity? Emma found him there, her footsteps soft against the metal floor. She hesitated before speaking, unsure of how to break the silence. Are you okay? Liam didn't turn to look at her. Do you think we did the right thing? Crossing the rim, I mean. Emma sighed and leaned against the wall beside him. I don't know. Maybe we were meant to find that station. Or maybe we weren't ready for it. We can't just ignore it, Liam said firmly. Whatever's out there, it's real and it's dangerous. Humanity deserves to know. But will they believe us? Emma asked quietly. Even if we show them the artifact, even if we tell them everything we saw, do you really think they'll listen? They have to, Liam replied. If we don't warn them, who will? Emma nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in her eyes. She wanted to believe that their discovery would change things, that it would prepare humanity for whatever dangers lay ahead. But she couldn't shake the feeling that some truths were better left buried. When the Aurora Dawn finally returned to Earth, the crew was greeted with a mixture of awe and suspicion. News of their unauthorized expedition had spread quickly, and the governing council summoned them immediately. The room was filled with stern-faced officials, their expressions unreadable as Liam and the others recounted their journey. Liam stood at the front of the chamber, holding the fragment of the pedestal in his hands. This is proof, he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We crossed the rim and found evidence of an ancient civilization, a civilization destroyed by something powerful and intelligent. That same force is still out there waiting. One of the council members, a gray-haired woman named Patricia Klein, leaned forward. And you're certain this Force poses a threat to humanity? Yes, Liam replied without hesitation. We encountered it directly. It tested us, probed us. If it chooses to attack, we won't stand a chance. The council exchanged uneasy glances. Some seemed skeptical, dismissing the story as the ramblings of reckless explorers. Others looked genuinely concerned, their faces pale as they absorbed the implications. What do you propose we do? Patricia asked after a long pause. Prepare, Liam said simply. Study the artifact, learn everything we can about it, and strengthen our defenses, because if we wait too long, it might be too late. The council debated for hours, their voices rising and falling in heated arguments. In the end, they agreed to take action, but cautiously. The artifact would be handed over to a team of scientists for analysis, and a new division would be formed to monitor activity near the rim. For now, the maps would remain unchanged, but humanity would begin preparing for the possibility of another encounter. As the days passed, the crew went their separate ways. Ryan returned to piloting ships, though he avoided discussing the mission with anyone. Marcus threw himself into repairing the Aurora Dawn, determined to keep busy and forget what he'd seen. Olivia retreated to her lab, studying samples from the artifact in hopes of unlocking its secrets. And Emma stayed close to Liam, helping him write reports and share their findings with other researchers. But Liam couldn't let go of the questions gnawing at him. Who had built the station? Why had they created such a powerful weapon? And why hadn't they been able to control it? And most importantly, why had humanity been kept in the dark for so long? One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Liam and Emma walked along the edge of a quiet park. The air was cool and the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink. For a moment, it felt like life was normal again. You've been quiet lately, Emma said, breaking the silence. I've been thinking, Liam admitted, about what happens next. What do you mean? The council thinks they can prepare for whatever's out there, Liam said, shaking his head. But they don't understand. That thing, it wasn't just a weapon. It was alive, intelligent, and it knew we were coming. Emma frowned. You think it's watching us? I think it's waiting, Liam corrected. For what, I don't know, but I can't shake the feeling that crossing the rim was only the beginning. Emma stopped walking and turned to face him. Then what do we do? Liam met her gaze, his expression resolute. We keep going. We keep learning, keep searching for answers, because if no one else is willing to face the truth, then it's up to us. Emma studied him for a moment, then nodded. All right, but promise me one thing. What's that? That this time we'll be smarter, more careful. Liam smiled faintly. I promise. Weeks later, Liam received a message from an unexpected source, a retired navigator named Clara Hayes. Her name wasn't familiar to him, but her words sent a chill down his spine. You've crossed the rim, the message read. Now you know the truth. Be careful, Liam Carter. Some answers come at a price. Liam stared at the screen, his heart pounding. How did she know? And what did she mean by the truth? Before he could respond, the message disappeared, leaving no trace behind. He shared it with Emma, who frowned in concern. Who is she? I don't know, Liam admitted, but she knows more than she's saying. Maybe she's trying to help, Emma suggested, or maybe she's warning us. Either way, Liam said, standing up, we need to find her. Together, they began piecing together clues, tracing leads that took them deeper into the shadows of human history. Each step brought them closer to understanding the full scope of what lay beyond the rim and the role humanity played in its creation. As they worked, Liam couldn't help but feel a growing sense of purpose. Crossing the rim had changed him, opened his eyes to the vastness of the universe and the fragility of human existence. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them, not just for himself, but for everyone who called this galaxy home. Because in the end, the truth wasn't something to fear. It was something to embrace and to fight for.